So the war between Nike and stolen sneakers, it continues. We got some interesting updates to get into, including a couple of pairs of early Jordans, which we know some pairs have already hit the streets, but if you're touching these two pairs in bulk early, it may be in your best interest, maybe just to not post yourself online. So this whole story begins with this image right here, which we got the Jordan 11 Gamma Blue. You guys know the 2025 version, which is set to drop coming up here in December, which this reseller's over here talking about 3 months early, which this picture was posted, as y'all see, October 20th. So maybe more so like a couple of months early, but regardless, over 400,000 views, almost 1,000 reshares. A lot of people had something to say about this shoe right here, which we get into the comment section. You got people talking about fresh off the railroad tracks, which is absolutely crazy. Dude put, man snitches on every early release, but now that he has them, it's cool. So why all of a sudden is there such an interest in people knowing where the actual shoes come from? Like, why are people talking about stolen cargo, right? Well, obviously we got the Cool Kick situation, which they were allegedly caught up in attempting to purchase stolen cargo. You also got the location, which was raided. The LAPD recovered over $146 million worth of stolen cargo, including a lot of Nike sneakers. So with these recent cases, it's kind of put everybody onto it. We've been talking about it over here on the channel, the shady business, what happens behind the scenes here in the sneaker industry. But as far as the whole Cool Kick situation, it kind of seems like it's brought it to a more mainstream audience, right? If you guys know what I'm saying. So speaking of Cool Kicks, also they recently did have their day in court, which pretty much has been quiet. We have absolutely no media coverage on that for those of the people that were wondering, like, what's the latest happening with Cool Kicks. But one thing I could tell you about Cool Kicks, if you haven't noticed by now, a lot of these big social media accounts who originally posted that Cool Kicks was caught up allegedly selling fakes. Well, if you haven't noticed, they've actually been like taking back that story. So just for example, you got this account Drops by Leo talking about Cool Kids co-founder Adil Shams wasn't charged for selling fakes. The LAPD confirms the charge is for receiving stolen goods. So it seems like from what I've heard behind the scenes, Cool Kicks has been issuing these cease and desists to some of these large accounts, which is why they're all kind of like recanting this story and making sure that they get things straight. Because I said it, like, everybody wants to just run with whatever's the best story. But as far as the actual truth, they were caught up for allegedly attempting to purchase stolen goods. So my guess, Cool Kicks must got some real top of the line lawyers, some $1 million attorneys. And based off this, I really don't want to say nothing else about them boys. Seems like everything kind of got brushed over. They're back to operating. Business seems to be good for them. So shout out to Cool Kicks. Now, as far as this reseller, right, which he's talking about these Jordan 11 Gamma Blues, right? People are alleging that these are stolen. You guys know with the whole Cool Kick situation. Well, he happens to go by the name of Raph Kicks. He's pretty well known as far as like in the sneaker Twitter space. In defense of this early image, which got a whole bunch of impressions, he's over here talking about my recent early display of the upcoming Air Jordan 11 Gamma Blue re-release, which is scheduled for December. Like, why is bro writing this like a press release? He's over here saying, it has fueled many rumors pertaining to the legitimacy of my sourcing channels. Now, what's interesting about this long ass story, which he just wrote right here, is he actually does expose some behind the scenes stuff about how a lot of these people are able to, get these pairs in bulk, right? A whole bunch of different pairs. So he said, it's an unfortunate coincidence that hundreds of stolen of pairs of the same sneakers started floating around within 3 days following my post. I can confidently state that my pairs are some, if not the only clean label pairs on the market at this time. Any other pairs on the market are almost guaranteed to be stolen. So that's interesting. Now, as far as these Gamma Blue 11s, while we see a couple of pairs, floating around here and there, I can't really recall of like any big like bulk images, anybody posting like having multiple pairs, like full size runs of these. So the fact that these are set to drop in like December, I feel like a lot of the retailers, that would normally carry these shoes probably haven't gotten their shipments in yet. That's why you haven't seen these pairs, popping out like that. So he put, all transactions I conduct in the sneaker market are traced with invoices, electronic footprints, and the necessary documentation, in this case, retail receipts from one of Nike's largest international retail partners, right? Remember that. You can find a picture of the product on the retailer's shelf below. I do not buy pairs without knowledge of their origin and consistent documentation. And in light of the extensive investigation relating to stolen cargo involving local and federal law enforcement agencies, especially here in Los Angeles. So I guess he's based out of LA. He said that he can assure that he has zero interest in being the subject of the next search warrant execution you see on your local social media feed. He's always been vocal on the topic of stolen cargo here on Twitter and would hate to be the victim of his own moral teachings. Bro, this dude right here is crazy. Transparency is the root of my 8 years in business. There's a reason why I'm still here. Blah, blah, blah. Looking forward to many years of doing business. Man, whatever, bro. So I guess this is the retailer where he's talking about his pair is. So by him posting this picture, this is him showing proof that these joints ain't fresh off the train, right? And they do come from an official retailer. So you're probably wondering, like, who is this retailer? Well, could it be a mom and pop store? Could it be like a Foot Locker or a Finish Line? Remember, I mentioned these Gamma Blues, a lot of these places probably haven't gotten their shipments in yet. So it's not too hot yet, but what he did post right here, he said, in this case, retail receipts from one of Nike's largest international retail partners, right? So outside of the pairs which are releasing in the US, of course, the way Nike does international business is a mix of wholesale accounts, strategic partners, and franchise partners. So your wholesale retailers, that's going to include your normal locations, which we're used to. That's JD Sports, your Nordstroms, Foot Lockers, the big players in those markets. But as for other players, right, the Fox Group, they operate Nike stores in Israel, and they partner with Nike on products and retail experiences. And then you also would include strategic distributors, which Nike has announced distribution partnerships in specific regions such as Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay. So it could be any of these international partners right here. But my guess is when a lot of these people do business, right, with these bulk deals, with these international buyers, it's still considered backdooring. You have problems with money laundering, tax evasion, all things that the federal government is not a big fan of. So the way that you can put yourself in the radar of the feds, of course, anytime you're doing big deals, right? Big business. So it's kind of one of those things where if you're just a small time reseller, they could care less. But if you're one of these guys who are moving a lot of units, making a whole lot of money, that's when they're going to be on you. That's where the paper trail starts. So he also mentions the early Black Cat Jordan 4s you are seeing are stolen. Be careful transacting and have fun. So that's crazy. Black Cat 4s, those are going to be dropping end of November. Gamma Blue 11s, December. Yeah, it would make sense, right? November's right around the corner, but for people to have these pairs that early means that they would either have to be either dealing with international trading partners through Nike, then you of course got the whole tariff situation, or stolen goods. So my advice to everybody flexing pairs, don't do it online, right? There's a reason why you haven't seen these Black Cat 4s. There's a reason why you haven't seen these 11s, right? They know better. And with the whole Cool Kick situation making everything hot, feds could be coming knocking on people's door next. Now, before we bounce, guys, lastly, did y'all see this right here? Florida mall heist. So this is right around the corner from me. I mean, not literally, but, a little ways up the road. So it says thieves cut holes in the mall roof, steal $50,000 in sneakers, which they're talking about around 500 pairs were stolen. So that's exactly what it looks like. Bro, these dudes are wild. This is like on some Mission Impossible type of junk. So this actually happened at the mall. And them boys had time, bro. So they were saying they probably worked with professional cutting tools. You guys see the bags, which some stuff was left behind. But this is just another incident of what's happening right now in the sneaker industry. The war between Nike and stolen sneakers. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And as far as these two pairs, man, resellers, be careful, bro. That's all I'm saying, right? So, JATV, I'll catch you guys next time. By the way, y'all, happy Halloween. This is just a prop for anybody wondering. We're almost here hitting 7,000 subscribers. So if you guys have been enjoying the content, right, you rock with me, consider subscribing, bro. We're just trying to hit the next goal. We're that close to 7,000 subs. So come along for the journey, man. I'll catch y'all next time. Stay safe, stay blessed. I'm out. Love.